All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 24 of the Paws Up podcast. We're approaching that milestone of a quarter of 100 episodes coming up. But so thank you to everybody who's been following us since the very beginning and who's watching on either our Twitter or the Lemon City Live Facebook and YouTube channels. As we have, I thought one guest, well, we might be having two, as we've just seen.
Yeah.
It's the head coach of the swimming and diving team, Randy Horner, with his dog. How are you doing, Randy? How are you doing, dog?
Very good. Thanks for having me. This is Juno making his appearance here behind me.
Juno, is he the unofficial mascot of the swimming and diving team?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Coach, thank you for hopping on. Of course, your incredible track record at FIU precedes you with your 8 recorded Conference USA championships during your time with the swimming program. So, again, thank you so much for being on. And I believe you're the 3rd head coach we've had from FIU athletics, the first being Kyle Russell of men's soccer, and the second being Mike McIntyre of football. So some pretty great company, Coach Horner. So
glad to be here.
Let's get it going. Let's talk a bit about your time before FIU, when you yourself were a swimmer for the Missouri State Bears. When you think about your time as a swimmer back then to now, when you're coaching the next generation of swimmers, how has the sport itself changed as far as competition and the overall skill sets of swimmers?
Yeah, it's changed a ton. It's changed a ton since my day. And back then it was Southwest Missouri State University, which later became Missouri State. So, I mean, a lot has changed in the sport and even the university itself. But no, back when I swam, tech suits didn't exist. The speed suits. So that's a technology that came into play back in the day. We used to have nothing but the smallest Speedos we could fit into and a shave for the body to go fast at the end of the season. And it's just technology, not just in the swimwear, but also on techniques of training, physiology of training, the video review, different things like that have come into play with technology. It's just really revolutionized the sport. Then you talk about the nutrition, supplementation, right. Just zeroing things in right there. You keep wondering how we can keep getting faster, but we do. The world stages keep getting faster and faster, and it's getting better every year.
Seems like the only thing that hasn't changed in the sport is the water. But unless I'm mistaken, unless they put something in the water that has changed over the decades. But yeah, it's crazy to see a sport like swimming grow to such standards. And so after you graduated from the Bears, you said in an interview with Panther Now almost a decade ago, I believe 2014, that you did not know if you wanted to be a swimming coach. Instead, you did things such as refereeing baseball games and even teaching math at a middle school. So what ultimately made you decide that being a swimming coach would be something that you would strive to do?
Yeah, no, it wasn't my plan. I wanted to be a math teacher. I was going to be a teacher, go ahead and be a principal someday. That was kind of what I thought my plans were going to be. But the one thing I have learned is the one thing that's constant is change. You never know what is going to happen in your life to get you to where you are. So, I was actually out on a baseball field umpiring, watching a game at the high school level, watching coaches interact with their players. And as I was sitting there calling balls and strikes and calling the base pads as well, it just something struck me, and I realized I wanted to be interacting with those athletes. I felt like I could do a better job than those coaches were doing with interacting with their kids and their athletes. I had a passion to be in the dugout working with people and not officiating in that capacity. And I thought about it. I was like, what can I do? How can I get into coaching? How can I have that avenue? I was teaching in the Springfield, Missouri public schools at that time as a teacher. I had a background as a baseball player. That's how I ended up umpiring baseball, but I swam collegiately. So I knew if I was going to have a route to getting in as a coach, it was going to be through the swimming ranks. And at that point, went to the athletic director, said, hey, I'm Randy Horner. I swam at SMS. I want to coach. Do you have any opportunities for me? And he didn't at that time. A couple weeks later, he gave me a call. He said, hey, John Kiesling, the coach at Parkview High School, he's going to have triplets, or his wife's going to have triplets, and needs some help. I showed up. The last day I ever saw him, he was busy with his family the rest of the season, and I took over the team and kind of started my career as a swimming coach from that point on. So wasn't the plan, but it just kind of grabbed me. It was a passion, and it kind of led me that way.
I gotta know, Coach, what position were you in baseball, and what was your ERA?
I was a catcher.
Okay.
Yep, I was a catcher. So and wasn't a very good hitter. I loved the defense part of the game. Loved being kind of the captain on the field, calling the shots, being involved on every play. But and I didn't have an ERA. I wasn't a two-way player. I was no Shohei.
And as far as umpiring goes and refereeing, how good of you were that? Were you top notch, or were you like Angel Hernandez, where there would be the controversial call here and there?
Everybody's better than Angel Hernandez.
Amen to that.
No, I was pretty good. I mean, it was fun. It was hard to say. I mean, I was umpiring JV and if I was lucky, varsity baseball at that point. But it was fun. It was a great way to get back into the game and be active. And my former boss or former coach and mentor, Jack Steck, who I swam for, he was big into umpiring and stuff. So he kind of got me into that, and he had an avenue into that. So I enjoyed doing that with him as well on the weekdays when we went out and hit the fields.
And you detail a lot about, being a head coach for swimming at a high school. What was that experience like? How would you describe maybe your coaching styles from then and now into now, coaching at a high university?
Yeah. I mean, everything I've done every year, everywhere I've been, is created, who I am today, and kind of modified and refined my strategies and kind of my views and how I think about things. But I mean, I look back at that first year taking over the Parkview team. You think a lot at that point in your career, but you look back and it's like, wow, I really didn't have much of a clue at all as far as the sport and the coaching and what it went into it. But I think what I found is a lot of my instincts took over, just on how to deal with people, interacting with people, working on just moving them along through the sport, working through things that are going on in life. And that's the thing that hasn't changed throughout my career. My perspective on realizing how important those things are have changed, but those were the things that I think those instincts that take over, that kind of meld you to either being competent as a coach and moving through the ranks, or kind of getting stuck and realizing that what it really matters to be good.
And I know you moved the ranks, then becoming assistant coach at your alma mater. So what was that like process before being a head coach of, what's a day-to-day like being an assistant coach? And I guess maybe more hands-on and more operational when you look at, it's kind of doing a little bit, more of the work, would you say, before being a head coach?
Yeah. So the way it happened, the year I was getting a head coach at Parkview High School, went to Kickapoo High School for several years, had success there. And then Missouri State, which I was still in the hometown where my alma mater was, I was teaching and coaching there. They decided they were going to start a women's program. At that time, it was a men's only Division I team, which is very, very rare to have that situation nowadays. So when they added the women's program, they decided they were not going to add any coaching positions. So Coach Steck was pretty much manning the entire co-ed program, 40 to 60 athletes on his own. So I went to him and said, hey, do you need some help? And he's like, absolutely, I need some help, but they're not hiring anybody. So I resigned the position as a high school coach at the time, kept teaching, and then volunteered as a coach there at Missouri State every afternoon after class. Took all my personal days and sick days to travel and go around with the team. And luckily, it was a calculated gamble. And the next year, they'd added a full-time position. I got in as a full-time assistant coach then, and that kind of started my career at the college ranks. So up until then, didn't know where it was going to go. But again, an opportunity came up. I took that opportunity, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, that opportunity was at the University of New Orleans. I want to say Privateers.
Yes,
I believe. Yes, Privateers. During that time, you broke 18 school records during your time with the privateers. So that said, what was your confidence level at that point in your career when you inevitably got the job to coach the Panthers in 2010 based on what you've done in New Orleans?
Yeah. I mean, my confidence level was very high. I had started a women's program from scratch at Missouri State. I went into New Orleans, and when I toured around there 1 year post Katrina, when everything was just destroyed and devastated, didn't even have a pool, I saw opportunity. We added a men's program there, which was a unique opportunity to get to do as well. In my 3 years there, I recruited one of the top recruiting classes in the country on the men's side as a first-year program. Things didn't go well there overall for the university, and it kind of collapsed financially. So that was what opened up the opportunity for me to go to FIU. But when the opportunity came open at FIU and talked to Julie Berg and realized that, I didn't know why the program hadn't really been prospering. And then when I started learning more about it, that all the advantages and opportunities were there. There was obstacles, of course, with facilities and other things, here at FIU. But, I was confident that we could come in, build a program and have a vision to, build it to what it is today and hopefully even beyond that in the future.
Yeah. So this is probably going to be the most controversial question and answer we have here. What is the better city, New Orleans or Miami?
I love New Orleans. Have never changed my phone number from the 504 from the time I was there. But I love it in Miami for completely different reasons. I'm happy I don't live in New Orleans anymore. I'm a lot healthier person because of it. The food was amazing. The culture and just the music and the nightlife and just the festivals is unbelievable. And I'm glad I lived there to have that experience. And I have lifelong friends back there as well that I go back and visit. But, Miami's unique. I mean, it's a fit culture. It's outdoors. It's on the beach, with the weather and the ocean and being outdoors all year. It's just unmatched in that capacity. So both have a place in my heart, but I love Miami. But I love going back once a year to Jazz Fest to visit New Orleans as well.
I was going to say the picture behind you just kind of just shows just why Miami's great.
Yeah, right. I could have just answered myself looking at the background. Yeah. You're right, John. So let's get into your time at FIU. Starting with year one, it was made very clear from the get-go that the road to success for you was through recruiting, as you produced the, I believe, 23rd ranked recruiting class in the nation, with most of your talent coming from overseas. So I got to know, what was your original recruiting method in that first year, and how did it evolve as the years passed with the Panthers? Yeah.
My experience of how we kind of built the program at Missouri State and also at New Orleans was very similar. At the mid-major level, international athletes are really a way to get a higher level, higher caliber swimmer than you can get as far as the domestic kids. You aren't really competing with the culture of Power 5 brainwashing to where that's where you got to go if you're going to be big time. Growing up, parents wanting to wear that T-shirt, the club coach wanting to market to the next group of swimmers if they send their kids to all the big name schools. So there's a lot of things you're fighting against in the U.S. Where in the international scene, it's not as much about that. They do have some better feelings of that now that the internet and everything is a lot more exposed and the exposure of different things. But, for our situation, I believe that you want to be the best at what you are, know who you are, and we're FIU, we're Florida International University, not Florida Domestic. So it made sense. Why re-educate everybody to say, hey, we're not international. Let's be who we are. And we went out and went after, great talent on the international scene. Didn't have a lot of hard times trying to convince them where we were. Whereas Miami, most of them have experience of either coming to training camps in Miami or wanting to go to training camps in Miami because of, the weather and the proximity during the winter months as well. So, we had success early on. I'd say the biggest thing that's changed we had made a lot more gambles early on people maybe that had down years in their sport and needed to kind of have a reclamation or a refinding of their passion for the sport and kind of bringing them back into their own. We're taking less of those gambles now as we become more established and have more of a track record. But when we first started out and we didn't have a whole lot to show for it, you have to kind of take a few of those gambles, roll the dice, and try to win at that game.
That first year at FIU, by the way, another 11 school records broken in that first year alone.
Yeah.
When you said yes to the FIU job, did you envision that level of success from the start of your Panthers journey?
Yep. I had some experience with FIU because when I was at New Orleans, we were in the Sun Belt Conference together. So I had experienced the team at the championship. I had seen the team, seen the culture, just seen the demeanor. I knew there was a lot of talent on the team. Some of those ladies were pretty good swimmers. And there was not a lot of morale. Things just weren't going really in the right direction at that time. So I believe strongly that even that first year, even though we didn't bring any new recruits that year, that just with not by just coaching them better and giving them more fundamental technique of the sport, just having a better environment, getting a better atmosphere, having a change of scenery sometimes is very important for programs that they're not, going in the right direction. So it didn't surprise me. And the ladies that were here worked hard. No one quit, no one gave in, and they, subscribed to the new way of doing things and the culture that it took to be great.
And on top of that, did you ever think in your first year that, this program would win 8 straight conference titles? And now you look at here in 2023, it's a powerhouse. The answer's going to be yes. That's for sure.
The goal was to win one, obviously. To string 8 in a row. a lot of things have to go right. And that comes with culture that's built that can sustain over a period of time. But, when I came in, my assistant coach at the time was Ignacio Gallo. He was also a product of Missouri State. So we've both been from that program where we won a lot of championships and we knew what it took to do that. And that was our dream. That was our passion to build that program to win a championship, to win a title. No one predicts multiple in a row because just a lot of things can happen. There's just a lot. You're dealing with people, humans. Nothing's perfect. We went through a lot of stuff that could have gone a lot of different ways, but things worked out pretty well for us.
Yeah. So let's talk about some uncharted waters. A couple of years down the road in 2013, when FIU made the jump from the Sun Belt to Conference USA. Despite a new batch of opponents, the Panthers still finished second in their first ever appearance in the Conference USA Championship. So what adjustments did you have to make that year to still be one of the best in a brand new conference?
Yeah. For us, nothing really changed as far as what we were set out to do. In our sport, it's all about, being fast and diving well and building a program and a team that is very balanced and can complement, all the different events that it takes to score the most points. Right. So, when we moved into a new conference, we were excited about that. We were excited for the new challenge. Again, second place in the first year. So we've been there before and done that. And, it was a good confidence builder because that was the highest place we had finished in the Sun Belt as well, to do that. So, we had some good success and it definitely led to, what we had to come later.
And with that, FAU is also part of the teams in the Conference USA, obviously moving to the American as well next year. But with all the sports, FAU and FI, that's a big rivalry. Would you say that's also the case for swimming as well? I know you guys have meets, yearly, senior day as well. So would you say that's still a kind of rivalry for both schools?
It hasn't been so much with our sport. And a lot of that's just been the competitive balance. When I first came in, it was a very competitive meet for us in FAU. Actually, I didn't think there was a chance we could beat them our first year when I came in, and we actually did that first year. And then we went back and forth a few times. But recently, the trajectory we took as a team and where we've been as a program, FAU's had a few more struggles along the way in that period of time. So it's really not something we circle on the calendar as a huge rival right now. But I know as a university for FIU, it definitely is.
And as we kind of close the book on CUSA, you guys got your first championship under you in 2014. How would you rank that accomplishment, getting your first title, and all the achievements that you've had in your career?
Yeah, I mean, to win a first of something or to do something for the first time is always so rewarding. It's something that hasn't been done, and the cool thing about that too is it was the first Conference USA championship for FIU in any sport. So it was great to do that as well. We had hoped to do that in the AAC, but Coach Russell beat us to it, and then we didn't close the door as well this year. But
Right.
So it didn't really matter. But no, it was special. It was a great opportunity. It was a great deal, and then we didn't know if we could come back and do it again. Our plans were to do that, but that first one's always going to be, special to break through and do something we'd never done before that we were setting as a goal.
Yeah, winning your first championship. It's something that the Heat and Panthers have unfortunately had to see their opponents do these past couple of days. Are you a Miami sports fan, Randy?
LeBron followed me, by the way, to Miami. He came down the same year I came down. He came about a month later and made his big announcement. So I was a pretty big
spotlight. That's not cool.
Yeah, I know. Dang it. So I was a pretty big Heat fan there for a few years because who couldn't be? That was a lot of fun with the big three, watching the games, and I got to go to a few as well, which was pretty amazing. I wouldn't say a huge fan of Miami sports just because I didn't grow up here. It's not kind of my culture. My biggest sport that I follow is baseball, and it's St. Louis Cardinals, which it's a rough year to talk about that right now. But that's the one I really follow the most as far as pro sports.
So you were extremely disappointed as well when the Rams ultimately made the move to Los Angeles. You remember that day, don't you?
Yeah, I was actually kind of happy because the ownership for the Rams was so bad, and they were so bad every year in St. Louis before they moved to LA. I think we were all just happy to see them go, get out of town. And then when they came back, they were much, much better. But I wasn't a huge football fan, mainly for that reason. Back when I was a kid, it was the St. Louis Cardinals football as well. And when they moved to LA, moved to Arizona. And they were really, really bad back then as well.
And honestly, I'm a Marlins fan, so I'm kind of there with you. But I have hope this year.
Here we go.
Yeah, the Marlins are doing pretty good this year. Pretty good.
Yeah, they're 7 games up, and I'm still begging to see a playoff game. That's my only hope. Never seen it. Just got to get to one.
Hopefully, this is the year.
But to add about, I think what. Every team has gone. I think we got it this year. I think every team has been good in Miami. We're getting it.
Okay. He's the optimistic one, Coach Randy. Just so you know.
Hey, gotta be.
Exactly. You always gotta have that. And to add about winning side, you guys won eight straight. And did it ever get to a point where maybe it's like, is this too good to be true? Where we're winning 8 straight, or maybe a standpoint like, did it feel maybe in the conference you would say maybe the competition was a little bit easier? Would you say maybe you felt maybe a move to AAC was great to kind of get a new sense of direction for the program?
Yeah, we welcome the change to the AAC. I would never say Conference USA was too easy. There was challenges every year. Mainly Rice was our biggest challenger every year in, year out. They moved to the AAC as well, so we didn't get they didn't get rid of us, and we didn't get rid of them by that move by any means. But there definitely is a higher level of competition in the AAC for sure. You got, Houston won it this year. Statistically, we dominated them in the meet. They won the game though with their depth of their events, as well. So, hats off to them on that. But, we won 10 out of the 10 individual events, won 4 out of the 5 relays. And I think they won 1 event in the entire meet. So, that's why it's kind of what I talked about before. It's a little bittersweet. We feel like we did well, but just had a few things that didn't go our way that kind of tipped the scales. So
it's absolutely still a ridiculous record. 8 straight conference championships. Ridiculous in a good way, of course. But out of those 8 that you won in a row, aside from the first, because we already talked about that, is there a specific championship that you hold above the rest, or in your opinion, are they all equal in your mind?
I think they're all equal. They're different in every way. You know, everyone was a different challenge, a different story to get to where we were. I mean, it was a pretty cool deal just to go back to back, because that was like, can we do it? You know, and then, you know, to do the three-peat, that was a big deal, because not too many people get to say the word three-peat or even get to talk about it. Then it just kind of grew after that. And then, you know, COVID came. Didn't know if we'd get through that, and it was like, okay, how can we navigate a COVID year and still be good enough to be great at the championship? And it was about, can we do it better than everybody else? You know, we won't be perfect. Yeah. We won't be as good as we would have been, but can we do it better than others? And so there was a lot of pride in the fact of what sacrifices we made and the ladies made to, you know, to pull it off that year. So kind of every year has had its own unique challenges for sure.
Yeah. And let's talk a bit about COVID. Oh God, COVID. But it is relevant to your time at FIU, because again, you've had so many amazing swimmers that you've had the pleasure of coaching, and a couple of course that come to mind, at least for me, are Maha Gouda and Alina Phillip. So what has it been like to be able to coach these swimmers that are so talented to the point that they are representing their respective countries in the biggest stage of them all, the Olympics?
Yeah, no. Now Maha's a diver, so I don't particularly coach her. You know, as a diver. My diving coach before with Maha was Rio Ramirez, who's now at Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Then Nick Yang took Maha under his wing the last few years, and then Josh Larkham joined us this year as a diving coach. So we've always had a great lineage of diving coaches to take care of that part of the program. But Maha's amazing. You know, two-time Olympian. She'll be an Olympian this coming year coming up. It's not official yet, but there's nobody that's going to stop her. You know, most decorated diver in Egyptian history, you know, as far as actually in all of Africa, the continent, highest placing diver ever in the Olympics in platform diving. So
yes, sir.
She did so many things that are just unbelievable that, you know, not only that, and representing FIU, being conference diver of the year so many years, going to NCAA championships, being All-American. So COVID gave us her for an extra year, which was amazing. And, you know, we definitely enjoyed that as well. And then, you know, we got two ladies on the team right now that will be representing their countries at the World Championships this summer in Japan. You know, Umi Diop for Senegal, and then Nikki Frank for Uruguay. So Nikki was a Olympian for Uruguay back in the last Olympics. So her goals are there to be an Olympian again this year. And then Umi's got a great chance to be, she's the best swimmer in their country. So we expect her to make an Olympic team for them as well. And then we got a few other ladies, you know, it's got some hopeful shots as well that could make it. So we hope to have a pretty good showing in this next Olympics in Paris.
Yeah. So speaking a bit more about the Olympics, of course, Gouda and Phillip were set to compete in the Tokyo Olympics in 2020 before it was shut down due to COVID-19 and moved to the following year. So this is a two-part question. What was the mood of the team? Assuming you guys have a group chat, maybe not, but what was the mood of the team when you first found out that the Olympics were being canceled? And what was the mood when it was announced that it was going to be rescheduled the following year?
Yeah, it was very tough emotionally for those that, you know, were slated to be there and to go and compete. I know for Maha, for example, you know, just the qualification process is so stressful. It's so much on edge, and she had qualified in December at the African Games. And then, you know, when that got postponed, then it was a lot of things up in the air. One, you got to train for another year and get ready, even though you might be peaking at that time. You had to go into a situation where, are they going to make you requalify? You know, are they going to take the same team they did, or are they going to, you know, do a new process and stuff like that? So it was just a really tough mental, emotional thing for Olympians to deal with. And especially some of the Olympians in the world that planned on being that was their last competition, right? They were like ready to retire. That was their last song, or that they had peaked to make the Olympics that year, and that was their peak year, and may not make it, you know, the following year. So it was tough. It was a emotional roller coaster. And But we're glad that they had the Olympics, period. It's good that they got it in and we're able to just postpone it a year and do that.
So what happened the moment they announced that the Olympics were back? Did you throw a massive celebration? Well, I mean, we were still under protocol, but
yeah, I mean,
how much elation was there when they announced that?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know about celebration or anything, but it's just more of okay, now we know what the target is, now we know what the dates are. Let's get back to work and prepare for whatever the process is that we need to do.
Business as usual.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Just another day in the office. Alrighty, gentlemen. Again, thank you. Thank you for spending some time with us. Coach Horner, Jonathan Mayer. I think it's time for a bit of a break. A news break, if you will. So let us get right into some of the latest news from the world of FIU athletics and just FIU in general. It's the Paws Up Podcast news break. So let's start with men's basketball. Announced earlier this month, the FIU Panthers will be invited to compete in the Cayman Islands Classic during the preseason from November 19th to the 21st. Shout out to Jonathan Mayer for breaking this news on Twitter. This mini tournament will first began in 2017 and picks a variety of teams to win the championship in the beautiful Cayman Islands, which are just south of Cuba. The other teams who will be competing along with FIU are Marshall, Stephen F. Austin, Oakland, Drake, Utah State, Loyola, Marymount, and an unknown eighth team. Moving on to football now. Some updates were made to the schedule a while ago, and it looks like more and more eyes will be on the Panthers this season. 6 games, which is half of their entire schedule, will be nationally broadcasted on live TV. 5 games will be on CBS Sports Network this season. That includes the season opener against Louisiana Tech, along with matchups against UConn, New Mexico State, Sam Houston State, and Jacksonville State. In addition, their October game against UTEP will be on ESPN2. This is the biggest amount of nationally televised games in a single season in FIU football history. And who knows, if FIU football does good enough that Arkansas will warrant their game against FIU in November to be nationally televised, then it could even be 7. So congrats to FIU football. And finally, some good news for the oceans, thanks in part to FIU. According to the United Nations criteria for sustainable development goals, FIU was ranked 2nd in the world for impact on life below water, 7th for clear water and sanitation, and 12th for life on land. All in all, FIU was ranked in the top 100 universities in the world and 7th in the United States for impact in the 2023 Times Higher Education Impact Rankings from a list of over 1,700 universities in over 100 countries. These rankings compile many, many different subjects and are intended to provide a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people on the planet now and into the future. So there was your Paws Up Podcast news break. Coach Horner, it's time to talk about the road ahead. And again, uncharted waters as FIU is moving from Conference USA to the AAC. You had your first taste of that this past season. So I asked this question earlier, but I guess I'll go ahead and ask it again. How did your game plan change when facing brand new opponents in a much bigger and, in your own words, a lot tougher conference?
Yeah. We actually, it was kind of nice to not have the pressure of the streak in a way. Every year it's like, okay, as soon as you win one, it's like, oh man, but now you got to go for 7. You win another one. Okay, now you got to go for 8. And we kind of enjoyed the fact that we're moving into a new conference. We kind of accepted the theme of, hey, it's a clean slate. There's no expectations. No one's expecting us to win it. We can go out, do our thing, be free to compete without that pressure of, the ladies even, they don't want to be the first team to lose one when you have a streak like that going on. And the seniors, have been there for 3 years and hadn't lost one. The previous recruiting class or the previous senior class, didn't lose one and they have that to retire on. So, the pressure looms and it gets a little bit tighter and tighter. So that's the biggest thing we changed is like, just a free mindset of, hey, it's first year, it's a new conference. There's no expectations. Let's go out there, give them everything we've got. And we did.
You talk about the tournament. It was so close. You guys are right there to getting the first one. But how would you describe, of the ability to just kind of like move on and kind of, reset for next year and, get set for a new season and look to claim, your first championship in the conference?
Yeah. I mean, that happened starting on the last day of the championship and finals that night. As soon as it was closed out and as soon as it was, infinite or definite that it was not going to happen for us that year. And we came up, was it 1,311 to 1,300, I think was the final score. So, in that scope of points to be that close. But, we told the ladies what we've been telling them all year, win or lose, we love you. It's not about winning and losing. It's about doing our best, being the best FIU we can be. And that's what we did. And now it's about sitting there, and we sat in the bleachers. We watched the championship ceremony. We watched the trophy ceremony. We watched the entire thing. And we wanted to look at that and realize where we want to be the next year, where we wanted to put ourselves and then start getting back to work, right away on doing that. So.
And how excited are you with just obviously a really solid senior class, but you have so much young talent. What do you talk about a little bit about what the roster you've built and really you think about it just keeps ever changing, but so many, great, ladies come in and are doing awesome things here with the program.
Yeah, that's what's so awesome about collegiate athletics is you don't have the same team year after year. It's sad to graduate people that you spent 4 years, and in these scenarios, last few years, some that we've been with for 5 years. But then there's always that exciting new freshman class coming in to start to work with and build the relationships as well. We had a great senior class, some great contributors, people that will be missed greatly. But we got 10 young ladies coming in, joining us that are brand new to the program. 3 that are transfers, 7 that are incoming freshmen that are going to, it'll be a third of the team, so that's a pretty big influx coming in, a lot of talent, a lot of ability, in the recruiting process. It's about finding people that love the sport and they're excited to go after it and do everything we need to do. So it's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be a fun year, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. So let's wrap up a bit with a look at the state of the program in the public's eyes. Have you been satisfied in recent years with the extended coverage, viewership, and social media presence that the swimming team has received? Or do you think that there's still more work to be done in that department?
Yeah. This past year was the best it's been since I've been at FIU. For sure. I think, Dan coming in with the branding and just revamp the social media department and the ability to get exposure and out there. I think we have a ways to go still. I think we can still do more. Just getting, boots on the ground and people there to get people out to cover the meets on our dual meets more. Streaming is something that we aren't even set up to do yet on the BBC campus. So it's, a little frustrating when we're at a different campus for our home competitions and we don't have the ability to stream it back to those that, can't be there physically. So, things like that in time is going to happen as part of the vision, as part of our plan. But the social media coverage has gotten so much better. The overall coverage, having people there, we had somebody there to video and do everything at the championship meet, which gave us some great coverage and great footage and great material as well. So we, just things like this are a big move as well. Just getting our exposure out there, getting to talk about our story, what we're doing at FIU with swimming and diving is big because those ladies work hard. And, we just want to get them out there and let people realize what they're achieving and how hard they work to do it.
Well, I know you mentioned the need for streaming at the Biscayne Bay campus, but aside from that, what other ideas do you have in getting the FIU Swimming and Diving name out there? I know it might not be as simple as doing what the football team did and slap an advertisement on the turnpike heading south and north, but What other ideas do you have, and would you go about doing that?
I mean, I think getting some home meet support is always a challenge because we're at the BBC campus, and, fan buses from our main campus to get them up there, that go regularly without waiting for people to sign up would be a big thing. Because if it's known that it's going to happen, then people are more likely going to plan around that instead of having to possibly get canceled, at the last minute because people don't sign up. And then that kind of feeds itself into that situation. So, just on that side, I think doing what we're doing with some of the Paws Up tour events and getting out and being in the community like that, I've been at every one of those, speaking on stage, letting people hear about us and our story as well. So, I think as many things we can do like that and be out in the community and the public, the better.
Without a doubt. And I graduated with the communications degree, so I had to go to my fair share of classes at the Biscayne Bay campus. And Johnny, I know you probably have too. At this point, the bus rides from MMC to BBC, sometimes they're rough, depending on the time of day and the traffic coming back. It gets wild at times. And then you put in the Miami traffic to that calculation, and it gets wild. So, well, the MMC campus is big and pretty full at the moment, but if there were an opportunity for the swimming and diving team to compete at the MMC, would you take it in a heartbeat?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's things being done to work towards that. Dr. Jessel is a big supporter of ours. His son was a swimmer at Florida State, so he understands us and understands our sport and has been a big supporter of ours since I've been here in my first year at FIU. So he's a great asset and ally to have now as the president of the university. With Scott coming in as the AD, with a vision of facilities and a master plan and moving forward.
Shout out Scott.
Yep. I'm confident it's going to happen. I don't know what year it's going to be, but I know that things are happening. People are talking. There are different things to do, but I think that would be the biggest game changer for us is being on campus, not traveling, not, doing everything we've got to do to get the job done and having a pool and a facility on campus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was gonna have one more thing. You talked about Scott Carr. Obviously, you received an extension back in December. But what is it like to have the backing of Scott Carr, who's coming here for a year and has done some unbelievable great things? And overall, you talked about the sport, not only for your sport, but all the sports, and really creating a big difference that he's been here so far.
Yeah, no, Scott's brought a great breath of fresh air into the university and just to the department. I think that the first thing we realized when he came in, he's just a really good person with good values and has the right intentions for how to treat people and how to do things the right way. And we're building that from the ground up. And after being here for 12 years, I've been here a little while. I think Coach Vogel is the only one that's been here longer as a head coach with golf. I've seen a lot of different phases of the athletics department, and I definitely think we're in the right place. We're in the right direction, at least. We're not where we need to be yet, but it's a lot of fun to be a part of, and happy to be a part of us building that.
I can already envision the crowds at a big time swim meet at MMC.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
It would be absolutely lights out.
Lights out! Lights out! you had to get it. You had to get it in.
Yeah. It's the day. It's the status quo for this show. Don't question it, Randy. But Randy, again, thank you so much for your time. And I'd like to finish our time with a couple of fun questions.
Okay.
I had in mind. Johnny, of course, fire away at will. But I asked this to pretty much every coach and player that we've had on the show. But you've been around the block with FIU athletics. You've seen your fair share of big-time players, not just for swimming, but for all sports at FIU. So who would you put on your FIU athletics Mount Rushmore?
Okay. I would say TY.
Okay.
He was here when I was first here. That was a lot of fun going to games and watching him and then seeing him, in the NFL. I would put Maha Gouda up there. I think that she definitely deserves a place with everything that she has done. gosh, trying to think back some of the names now. Those are the two that stand out.
Of course, you have some big time players for baseball. Of course, you have the great Mike Lowell for baseball.
Yes. Yep, and absolutely.
And then basketball, you got Rajah Bell, Carlos Arroyo.
And didn't Pat Bradley play golf for FIU?
I'll need to double check, but I believe you are correct.
I think so. I mean, you can't leave her out. That's a pretty accomplished. I'm pretty sure that's correct. But fact check me.
You are correct. Collegiate career at FIU. So yeah. It's tough, but so your final four would be TY, Maha, and who else?
Pat Bradley, and I don't know. I guess I'll have to go with another. I did a diver. I have to go with another swimmer. Johanna Gustafsdottir, who is a very storied swimmer with us. One of our first recruits here at FIU, and qualified for NCAAs all 4 years here at FIU in different events every year, which is a pretty insane accomplishment. What she achieved, and was never anything but swimmer of the year. I think she left with like most of our record board too, which we've broken all of them, but actually, no, I take that back. We broke her last record this year, so we finally wiped her out the record. But yeah.
Okay. So you said you watched some games when T.Y. Hilton was still a Panther. So that leads me to this: what is the go-to spot on campus for you, Coach Horner?
Go-to spot?
Yeah, food, for just hanging out.
Yeah, I like the Chili's in the GC. It's a nice little spot to go, grab some lunch and kind of be in a place that's not even really like on campus. So I like that spot quite a bit.
And okay, since of course a swimming coach, I need to ask a swimming related question. Is Michael Phelps the greatest Olympian of all time?
Absolutely, hands down.
Good answer.
Yep.
Johnny. I hope your answer would have been the same.
Oh, hands down, yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah, okay. What he did is unmatched. No one's even come close to what he's done, and probably never will do it again.
Out of curiosity, how many swimmers that you've coached at FIU, how many have looked up to the accomplishments of Phelps as sort of an inspiration?
Likely all of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, likely all of them. It's and he transcended the sport. He's a household name to people that aren't even that familiar with the sport of swimming, just because of the accomplishments and what he did. For that many years on the Olympic stage at that level, and the number of events that he did it in is just unbelievable to realize, what a feat that was. So pretty amazing. Human freak.
Absolutely. So when the swimming team is traveling somewhere to compete, who on the team gets the aux cord?
Man, it depends on what van you're in, because we always travel in vans. But
okay. Well, there are different vans?
Yeah, we always travel in vans. We usually don't have buses, so each of the coaches are driving different vans and stuff. But in our van this last year, Emma Becker, a freshman on the team, seemed to have it quite a bit, and I had to veto a lot of songs and music that got played. But yeah, it's always interesting.
So you said you're a Cardinals fan. Are the blue uniforms the greatest uniforms in baseball?
Yeah, the home powder blues. Yeah.
Ooh. They're tough to beat. Yeah. I'm still a big fan of the Marlins teal, but those blues are really good.
Those are great.
Johnny, you got any final questions?
Honestly, I want to know, what are your hobbies outside of coaching? What do you like to do in your free time? When it's not FIU related?
Sure. Run. I go out and run and jog with my wife. That's actually how I met her. So that's one thing that I still like to do, it's easy to squeeze in and have time. I think one of my biggest passions, though, as a hobby is golf. And I have not done a good job recently of finding time to do that. And a lot of that's due to Juno, who you met earlier, when we rescued Juno, he kind of took over front and center of my time on the weekends and everything else. So my golf game has kind of gone to the side, but I love it. Love to get out and play.
How old is Juno?
He's 4. We've had him for a couple of years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very cute. All right. Coach Horner, again, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And I'll let you have the show for the last minute here. If there's anything you'd like to say to the team or to the fans that are watching about FIU swimming, now would be the time.
Okay. Just want to, again, welcome everybody out to the BBC campus and, find a dual meet, find a competition, come out and support the ladies. It is tough, a tough go for us being at a different campus. So the fan support is greatly appreciated. And it's more about just showing those ladies how hard they work, giving them some recognition and support, and knowing that everybody knows that they're there other than just at the conference championship at the end of the season. So we're proud to represent FIU, very, very proud, and look forward to representing us this year and hopefully bringing home our first AAC championship.
All right, Jonathan Mayer, my wonderful co-host. Thank you again for stepping in when Kevin Barral, who is busy with Miami Marlins above many other things right now. He's getting ready for freshman year. I'll make him go out to some swim meets in due time. You better believe it. But Coach Horner, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We wish you and the rest of this swimming and diving team the best of luck in your next season. And until then, to everyone who's been watching on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, thank you again for watching. Have a great rest of the night. Until episode 25, Paws up.
All right. Thanks, guys.